This is Swiss and Chips, your British guide to Switzerland. Hello and welcome to Swiss and Chips. I'm Jo Fay.
And I'm Simon Reed.
And welcome to our 20th episode.
Yeah!
Wow! So that's what that bell's doing here. Yes! Thank you so much for listening. I can't believe we've made it to 20 episodes so far. But if you're still here, excellent. If you just found us, we've got 19 more episodes you can listen back to. So lucky you.
Yeah!
That should keep you going
Super,
till
great news.
If you just found this podcast or if you've been listening for a while, we'd really love it if you go onto iTunes and leave us a review, tell other people where they should listen to, or just give us a few stars if you like us as well. That would be really fantastic.
Yeah, it's the main and only place where people can, or the biggest place where people can find us. So, and the chance that we are seen is based on how many reviews and stars and so on. You know, all that stuff. So would be great if you leave a review. We have some listeners though from Russia and Croatia and
Hello.
Switzerland, obviously. So it's great. So we are really happy that we are in the charts there. And obviously it would be great if, people can find us.
Exactly. And we also, while we're on this topic of saying thanks a lot, we also want to say thanks to all the people who are in our Facebook group, which is called Switzerland for English Speakers. And we'll be at 500 members soon.
Exactly. Wow. Yeah,
huge.
cool.
So thanks to everyone who posts in the group and answers questions and all of the other things that go on there. I think it's super interesting. So last few weeks we've been on holiday, and if you've been listening for a while now, you may remember that a few weeks ago I said I was doing my C1 German exam.
Exactly. So how did that work out?
So I thought it might be time to give you an update on what exactly happened. Haven't got my results yet. It takes 6 to 8 weeks for them to come after the exam.
Dear.
Can you believe that?
Yeah, it's the horror.
Such a long time. Basically going to be checking the postbox every day, but trying not to. So I think it went okay, but it's just so hard to know, In the practice, things went quite well, and then on the day, it's like, hard topic, and did I write enough or too little? And basically, I just have no idea how it went.
Basically, maybe you can give a very short review. Recap. How did it go? How,
what happens on the day?
Yeah, exactly.
Split into 4 parts, like reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And speaking is actually the smallest part of the exam, which has the least amount of points, but right at the end and probably the most stressful.
Yep. Yeah, I can imagine, yeah.
And basically just do lots and lots of different kind of exercises, reading texts and answering questions on them and multiple choice grammatical exercises.
I see, yeah.
And listening to various different recorded fake radio interviews and answering questions on them. That kind of thing. And you also have to write a kind of long essay, 2 different topics you can choose from, and you have to write a 350-word essay on it. It's not actually that long, but in German it's quite hard.
Sounds great. Sounds like a lovely day.
Yeah, and then you have a kind of lunch break and you go back, and then there's the spoken part of the exam, and you and a complete stranger basically get thrown into a room together and have to do a short presentation. The other person has to listen and then sort of repeat back to them what the presentation was about.
Okay.
And then you get given a spontaneous topic to discuss about.
Yeah.
And my topic was, what was it? Is watching television a waste of time?
Okay. I see, yeah.
So it's super
and now
weird.
that after all this stuff is done, the test, you have only to wait for the results.
We have to wait for the results.
How do I know?
I think that's a group exercise.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, so how do you proceed? Now you learned and you had your weekly exercises to do and so on, and you practiced a lot, and now is the big day is behind you. It's like a big marathon run, and now you have done it. So what comes next? How do you not lose all the things that you learned?
Well, yeah, here's the thing. It's a big if I pass this exam, then
German podcast maybe, or
no way. I think you're extremely brave to do an English podcast, but for me a German podcast would be a long way off.
Need that on a t-shirt.
Yeah. But if I pass this C1, then not to blow my own trumpet or anything, but that's quite a high level of German, although it doesn't feel like it personally.
Should I ring the bell again? Maybe if we have the results.
Yeah, we'll wait.
Okay.
That's me touching wood for good luck. But yeah, then what? I could go on and, take lessons to learn C2 level German. But what I thought I might do is to try and kind of have more sort of German in my life without sounding too weird about that.
So I'm not enough German for you, am I?
Well, how much German is too much? You can never have enough.
Yeah, the thing is, I said it's if we talk together in German, it's not really enough, I think, because it's Swiss High German, it's also not High German.
Oh, I mean, there's that, but it's also, I was like, basically, how do you learn your mother tongue from a young age, from doing so many different things?
Yeah,
and basically,
true.
as an adult, you have to try and mirror that. This is my sort of
Listen to
pseudo-psychology
music,
coming
watch
in
videos,
here. Watch TV,
Yeah.
read books, talk to loads of different people, and try and be understood by different people.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what I'm going to try and do, basically. And on that note, over the past few weeks, I've begun setting up this new path, you could say. And I actually was inspired by our Facebook group, Switzerland for English Speakers.
I just wanted to ask, how did you have that idea?
Well, thank you for asking. Someone in our Facebook group was looking for a tandem, which is where you meet someone, say once a week, for example, and you speak for half of the time in your own language and half of the time in their own language, and you both want to learn the language from each other. And I thought, that's an awesome idea, and that's exactly what I should do now that I can talk a bit more in German.
Yeah, so you meet somebody, then you talk in English for half an hour, and then you talk in German for half an hour.
Yeah, something like that.
Ah, cool.
And so I looked for some German language Facebook groups, basically, because our group is, Switzerland for English speakers. So I was looking for kind of the equivalent. And I found some nice groups and said, this is me, native mother tongue English speaker, looking for a mother tongue German speaker. I found some nice people and now I'm just starting to meet them.
Yeah, cool.
So I think very exciting.
Yeah. And the thing is, as we're talking of the Facebook group, that was also a bit inspiration for our topic today, because I made this post some time ago where saying something like, welcome everyone, new members to the group, and what do you expect from the group? And many had kind of like, said like, I want to connect with people and so on. And some seem to have, or again and again, it feels like people have difficulties to connect in Switzerland with each other, and especially with the Swiss. So, and it's, as a Swiss, I think it's quite sad to see that, expats coming to our country and somehow they get lost, but none of us really notice and nobody really knows because they're lost themselves. You know what I mean? And that's why we thought it would be nice to give some ideas or inspiration how to make friends and how to, be better integrated.
Yeah, and how to meet people.
Yeah,
basically,
exactly. Yeah.
Swiss or not.
And I think there is a big difference, to meet within expats or meet within expat groups, meet other expats, or if you want to make friends with Swiss. I mean, friends is a big word, but, connect and so on, go out.
Get to know some.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what do you, how did you meet other expats, for example, when you came to Switzerland?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is, there's a few things that will make it easier or a bit harder for you.
Or maybe first of all to say, when you came to Switzerland, how hard was it for you? Did you also have that feeling that it's quite hard to make friends? Or
Yes. But for me, it wasn't so much the Swiss are so unfriendly, where on earth can I find them? It was more, it's the first time in my life that I didn't know anyone and didn't have any friends.
Yeah.
Because you just don't think about that when you're at home, because you know people from school or at work or whatever. You just know people because you've always been there. Suddenly you're just dropped in a new place and kind of, I think it hits you quite suddenly. You don't know anyone and no one is looking for you. So you could just carry on forever not knowing anybody.
Yeah, exactly. I think
that's really, when that truth suddenly hits you one day, it's like, oh.
Yeah,
what am I going to do now? And that's what happened to me, basically. At the time, I only worked with two other people who were married men older than me, had their own families.
Yeah,
so.
I think that's quite a big disadvantage. If you are working in a very small place where it's only one or two people and you maybe don't really get along with them, then it's really hard to, make friends or have your first foot in, basically.
Exactly. They sort of had their own lives at home, basically, and were both very nice, but not really in the same position as me, looking to, do something at the weekend, for example.
Yes.
So then, and I suddenly realised I didn't know how to make friends from scratch.
Yes.
Because I never had to do that before. Yeah. And then I just thought, well, I can either sit at home and be miserable, or I can just basically try and do everything I can think of, and somehow or other, I'll meet some people. That's what I started doing.
Okay. So, so seems like everyone has a bit the same problem. So how did you make the first step?
Okay.
Can you give some concrete examples?
Yeah,
maybe?
definitely. I didn't speak great German at the time either. So
Okay.
that wasn't really an option for me, I think, to make German-speaking friends, I thought. So this was 8 years ago, basically. So basically, I joined the meetup site and I started looking for meetups. People can find it online. I guess most people know it, meetup.com. There's also an app. Meetups where people would, it's expat get-togethers or it's a women's networking group. I went to quite a lot of things like that. International get-togethers or these kind of things.
Yes.
All different kinds of events, but generally people meeting up for drinks or something.
Yeah.
And then I also looked for more kind of formal get-togethers. So I was in Zurich at the time, and there's the International Women's Club that I joined. There's also English-speaking clubs in most of the big cities like Bern or Geneva. And some of these, are sort of aimed at different groups or different types of people. But the only way I think you'll really find out is if you go to them.
Yes.
There's Internations, of course, which is aimed at sort of getting, I think, kind of young professionals from lots of different countries together. Yes. I didn't also have tons of hobbies before I came here. I wasn't into running before I moved to Switzerland, but I got into it. Yes. I also went to, we have this thing in England and other countries called Bitch and Stitch. It's like a funny name.
Excuse me?
It's a kind of funny name for...
very funny.
Basically what used to be called a knit and natter. It's like a knitting club.
Yes.
But the natter or the bitch in the Bitch and Stitch is basically like chatting.
Is that an explicit word?
It's a kind of funny name.
Okay.
Basically
really?
meet up, do knitting, but also kind of chat a bit. This is what I'm saying. Basically, try everything. I wasn't into knitting, but I went to it anyway and met some nice people. Yeah. The thing is, the knitting was too hard, so I decided not to go back.
Yeah.
But other things like that, or look for like volunteer opportunities. I joined Room to Read in Zurich, which is a group of volunteers who try and raise money for girls' education.
You drift off, but...
So
no, it's true,
basically, just look around. Maybe it's not your hobby already, but can it become your hobby? Try it. That's my advice.
So you sit alone in your apartment, let's say, basically extremely miserable, sad, and then you turn on your computer and you go online and look for groups on Facebook or look for charities or how do I have to imagine that?
Yeah, you can search for, English-speaking clubs or international groups or groups on Facebook or volunteer opportunities in the town where you live and look, could I maybe do that as an English speaker? Okay. That was basically my first level.
But that's all online. You do everything online.
Did everything online. I also went to, English language bookshops, for example. And they sometimes have notice boards where they pin up like a book club, for example, that you could go along to.
Yes, I see. Yeah, I think...
And that's how it starts, basically. You just have to start like that. And I think once you go, maybe it won't be something for you, but you may meet other people there who you might say, I've only been here 2 weeks. Is there any chance we could meet up or something?
Yeah,
and they
exactly.
say, sure, of course, because they've been there too. And maybe they introduce you to something else, which is more up your street.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. And I think if you explain all these things, how to meet expats, I think it's not so much different how to meet a Swiss person. Because I think what you might not really see if you are new to Switzerland, you think, I don't speak the language and, people don't talk to me and so on. But I think what you said at the beginning is quite important, that nobody waits for you. And I mean, that sounds hard, but that's just how it is. And I think that's everywhere more or less the same. But what we have to say is that everyone, if they would know that you exist, basically, I think many people would be extremely happy to make friends with you because expats are interesting. They are different. They have different stories to tell. Why are they here? How they live in their home country? What do they eat? And so on. Basically, all these questions, that's extremely interesting to hear for Swiss people. So I think many Swiss would be extremely interested to meet expats, new expats or expats who live here for a long time already or just moved here. Like literally everyone is interested to know these people. But what I understand is that Swiss are very, a
bit more reserved.
Yeah, a bit more reserved, yes. I mean, you put it really nicely. I think they're very reserved in general. And that's it's also the culture, I think, because we are quite suspicious and neutral and we don't want to get involved too much. Don't speak too loud. Don't don't be out of the average zone, basically.
Stand out too much.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to meet Swiss, it's definitely you who has to make the first step, I think. It's different when what you said at the beginning, if you work with somebody, then there it's quite different, because that you get to know each other during the day and so on, during the days and weeks. And I think there it's just extremely important. If a Swiss person gives you an opportunity, you have to take it. And for example, at work, if somebody says, do you want to go out after work? Do you want to have a drink, or
do you want to go for lunch also?
Exactly.
I think that's a big thing in Switzerland, going for lunch rather than out in the evening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you don't go home usually, so you go for lunch and then you can talk a bit, and then you will see if you have any connections, or maybe you have similar hobbies, or you say something like, let's go to cinema once or whatever.
And I think the thing is, when I also moved office and moved to a bigger place where there's lots of Swiss people, basically. And then I found that some people kind of approaching me and sort of asking me questions, where are you from, and stuff like that, because they can see that, they've maybe heard about you, the foreigner in the building, and people are super interested in you.
Yeah.
And I think the funny situation then is, where I come from, you don't want to be too forthcoming. You don't want to be seen as weird by asking someone to go and do something that you don't really know. But I think here, basically, you just have to sort of put yourself out there, even though it feels weird.
Yeah, the problem is really you are the one who doesn't have friends at this place. And the other person already has friends and doesn't need new friends. Yeah. That's just how it is. So you will have to make the first step. And like I said, I would take the opportunities, and then it's basically the same thing. Just join activities. Activities is a big thing. Outdoor activities. Go to running clubs. I think that's an easy thing to meet new people. Or sports clubs in general. And what you said with this pinboard, I think it's the same thing in a tennis club.
The notice board,
yeah, exactly. When you go to a tennis club, maybe there is also a notice board where somebody pins something like, I'm looking for a partner or something. You can do the same. And all the other stuff you said, just look online, join clubs, go to things, activities, find out your hobbies or find new hobbies. And then there are always groups and small communities where you just can join in. And I think maybe it might be a bit easier if you try to find one person, on Facebook or something, like you said with this tandem thing. I think that's one good possibility. Or also just go to a charity, help.
Yeah.
And then there are always events made by these groups, and then you can go to these events, and if you do everything of that, then you will soon have some connections here and there. I'm sure.
I think what is a problem for lots of people in the group, and it was a big problem for me as well, was thinking, how can I go to these events when I don't speak that language? I don't want to go to something and expect people to talk to me in English, and then they'll all speak in Swiss German, and I'll be super left out, and then it doesn't sound like much when you say it now, but I think it's a big problem for people.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that very good, because for me it would also be hard. I think it would be extremely hard. It's hard to imagine even just to go somewhere in England, although I speak the language excellent.
Yes, you even make a podcast in English.
No, but it's just because you think, they have their connections and so on, so you will stand out, and
you'll be the one standing on your own, looking extremely awkward and not knowing what to do.
Exactly. But to give you the other perspective, I think if I'm one of that group, you will be the one who stands out. So everyone wants to be your friend, basically. Everyone wants to talk with you. You are the interesting person. People are waiting for you. I think what people don't really understand often is that the Swiss want people to integrate into Switzerland as good as possible, but we don't really want to do it. we want the expats to make it, to make the first steps and give all the efforts. I'm not saying this is good or bad, but I'm just saying, I think, for example, if I'm already in a running club, then I don't want to go and ask expats, don't you want to come so we can all hang out together? Then we ask them to make the first step. We expect them to make maybe the first step and join the group. And then when they are there, I think, and you say, I only speak English, then there definitely will be at least one person who says, oh, no problem, I speak English, let's talk together. And, usually, many Swiss are quite nice, I would say.
Yeah, so would I.
Many Swiss are really open to make new friends, and especially expats. I really want to emphasize that, especially expats. I think many, many, many people are interested in meeting expats.
And that's the thing that I sort of didn't realise for a while, that actually lots of Swiss are more than happy to talk English to you, want to talk English to you, but
want to practice as well.
Yeah, they want to practice with you, because what better place to practice your English with an English speaker? But I think that the thing that I didn't realise probably until I met you was this kind of feeling that a lot of expats have, that you're a kind of problem because you can't speak the language properly. And I think, when you have this kind of insecurity, you're going to meet not very nice people who are going to be rude to you because you don't speak the language well enough. And I think a lot of expats have this feeling that that's their fault and they've done something wrong. But the reality is, it takes a long time to learn a language and it's not super easy. And actually, no one has a right to be rude to you because you're trying.
Yeah, the thing is basically, if you don't speak the Swiss languages and the Swiss person doesn't speak your language, they might be rude because they are embarrassed, And either they are embarrassed and say nothing, or they might be rude in the Swiss language and say something like, why don't you speak my language?
Yeah.
But the thing is, these are assholes. Ignore them, walk away, don't even say anything. Just ignore them, otherwise they will be only happy and you will prove their point if you just argue with them. Just ignore them. They're extremely huge assholes, and I can't emphasize that enough. There are assholes in Switzerland like everywhere else in the world, but there are really nice people as well, and they want to meet you, basically. So just go out there and find them.
Exactly.
It's not, I think once you made the first few steps, I'm not saying the first step, but the first few steps, then it's getting much easier.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I think it's a really difficult topic. I think it's so hard, and the thing is also what we discussed before we started to record the podcast is that it's both of our sides don't really see the other side.
Yeah.
So as an expat, you don't really see the Swiss side where you have to know Swiss people are open. They want to know you. They want to get in touch. That they are also interested in new connections, but also the other side that Swiss don't. You might have also to understand the Swiss don't see your side. They don't know that you are insecure and that it's extremely difficult for expats to integrate. They just think, well, it's super easy. Why they can
just join the Schwingen club?
Yeah, just come, just come along. And then you say, yeah, but I don't understand one single word, and they would think, yeah, it doesn't matter, does it? You know what I mean? It's so.
Yeah, totally.
If you see it from the other side, and maybe you compare it to your country, and you think, if another person would come, I would also think no problem if that person doesn't speak English, but for that person it's extremely hard. But you know what I mean?
I do, yeah.
Anyway, also we posted this question to our Facebook group and how they make friends, and we had two very interesting points. I mean, two quite funny points as well. Mm-hmm. There was Jason Chui.
Yeah. Sorry, we are really bad at pronouncing names, but
he said, it's not easy, but then again, it's not easy anywhere. And I think that's a really good point. It's definitely how you can dive into Switzerland and say, well, it won't be easy to make new friends in Switzerland, but it's not easy anywhere. It's just not easy. It's difficult, but make the first steps and then it will work out, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. And then also Emma Gledhill commented, and she said, try and get involved in something local.
Yeah, that's a very good point, I thought as well. If you it doesn't necessarily mean that in a village it's very easy to get involved in something local because there are local festivities, local clubs and so on. Mm-hmm. But also if you are in a town, living in a town or in a city, then there are like area festivities sometimes. We just recently had one and they were looking for somebody to help, build
set up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Then you can go.
Yeah, that's
a really good point. Yeah.
And Emma also said, you might not actually know that you've made friends until you accidentally offend them. That made us both laugh.
Yeah. I think that's a good point to end. See you. Bye. No. I think,
Hey, hang on a second.
I mean, it's yeah. The point is, I think it's very difficult to make friends with Swiss people, but on the other hand, also, you make friends for life there. I think once you made friends with Swiss people, then,
You're in.
Yeah, you're in.
You're in. Good. Which brings us to our final point, I think, for this podcast, which is that it's been so nice talking with everybody in the Facebook group that we decided, hey, why don't we have a get together?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Exactly. So we are posting, we'll make a post in our Facebook group, Switzerland for English Speakers. We're going to have a few different dates, and you can vote for which date you want to come and meet up with us in Bern.
Yeah. And
Just think it would be nice to get to know people a bit better, maybe make some new friends with Swiss and non-Swiss. Cool.
Yeah. Informal.
Informal, yes.
Yeah. Come dressed up and be on time.
Don't come dressed up. Dress as you like, just wear clothes.
Yeah, and you would say come whenever.
Yeah, come whenever and just wear something. Good, so Switzerland for English speakers, tell us when you want to come and we'll have a meetup.
Yeah, cool.
I'm excited.
It would be great to meet you.
All right, so thanks a lot for listening.
Bye.
Bye.